They're playing Northwestern at Northwestern. The last time he will play in that gym, the last time he'll play, well, potentially the last time he'll play Northwestern. Of course, he could play them in the tournament. But that's also another reason the importance of winning this game is getting that double bye in the Big Ten tournament of uber importance. That is, I'm telling you, and I'm saying this right now for the first time, I think if Indiana gets the double bye, which hopefully they will, I think that they win their first Big Ten tournament. I've just been having this weird feeling within the last week that keeps coming back. I think they win the Big Ten tournament if they get the Big Ten the double bye. Now that also means that they're probably going to lose at Purdue. The reason I say that is very, very difficult and rare to beat a good team 3 times. So you got to think about that unless they don't meet in the tournament. So there's all kinds of stuff, all kinds of little scenarios that you can play with and just have fun with. But that's the reality. It's just scenarios right now because the reality comes after the games are played. And the games will be played tonight, for one, as Indiana travels to Evanston, Illinois, to take on the Northwestern Wildcats tonight at 9 o'clock. And you can catch that game, of course, on BTN. We've got lots more coming up. Appreciate everybody hitting us up. Leslie, Joseph, Pete, Kevin, Carl, John, Jamie. We'll be back with more. Bob Kravitz joins us right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether it's... All right, I'm going to grab my coffee real quick.
That's a great idea. Make some coffee. What a great idea.
All right, I'm back. Sorry some of you guys missed the first segment. I'm not sure what's going on with YouTube, but I'm glad that it got itself fixed for you. Because I noticed whenever we started, I was like, there's only 10 people watching live. That's never the case. And I see the numbers significantly increase. So I'm glad that YouTube got their act together. Good morning, Sir Bob Kravitz.
Mr. Alden, how are you?
I'm doing well on this Wednesday. Jim is grabbing some coffee.
Yeah, I got my coffee right here, ready to roll.
Got about 30 seconds, Jimbo. And go ahead and pull us back in.
Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this glorious Wednesday, brought to you by Southern Stone, where each and every Monday at 7:05 you can find Inside Indiana Basketball with Don Fisher and Coach Mike Whitson. Right now we've got something better. Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. So, Robert, how are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you, Jim?
Great, sir. You have been out and about, busy here of late. Colts, new coach. You've been at Indiana. You've been bouncing around, man.
Yeah, it's been interesting. We waited a month, so what the hell? Yeah, but look, the poor guy. I got to tell you, the poor guy looked exhausted. He looked like he was dead on his feet. He's been through the ringer with the Super Bowl and all these 14-hour interviews. And I'm getting a ton of crap on my column because a lot of people only read the first paragraph, and I mentioned that he looked dead on his feet. So they're like, yeah, you'd look worse if you, I'm like, the point I was making, if you read the second paragraph, was that I don't want a song and dance man running the Colts. They've had a lot of those guys who are, great with the media, and they're great. Yeah, they're great with the media. They're talkative. They're accessible, the whole bit. This guy seemed like you didn't see any personality, but again, he's been through the ringer. And I just care if the guy wins games. So read the second paragraph if you do read the piece in The Athletic, okay?
Well, most people just read a headline, Bob. You're lucky they read the paragraph. Not your stuff. Just in general. It happens all the time. I sent a tweet out the other day that I got a lot of grief on that I'm still laughing about. But I hear you. But, yeah, what cracked me up through this process is they had to keep Jeff Saturday as a member of the final candidates, like all the way through. And I'm like,
I know.
Come on. I'm like, stop with this charade, man. Are you kidding me? Would you quit with this charade?
When you look at the resumes of the other candidates, and they've all been coaching for 10, 15, 20 years, it's just absurd to me. Again, I love Jeff Saturday. Jeff Saturday is the coolest guy going. I don't have a single problem with that dude. He's aces in my book, as they say. Well, nobody says that, but I just said that. But there's no earthly way he was one of the 4 best candidates for this job. And what it tells me is that Jim has kind of come to his senses, Irsay. And this is Chris Ballard's guy. Jim was on board, certainly. But look, if they had hired Saturday, that would have created a dynamic that would have been really, really problematic for the Indianapolis Colts.
Without question. Shane Steichen, the guy they got nabbed from the Eagles, the former offensive coordinator there. His credentials seem pretty nice, pretty good.
Yeah. Well, what they really needed, and I talked to some people outside the organization, and they all said they need a young guy who's got quarterback, training in training quarterbacks coaching quarterbacks. And he's done it. What's so impressive about this guy is he did it with Phillip Rivers, who's, again, got the mobility of a lawn chair. He did it with Herbert. And then he did it with Jalen Hurts. He's a completely different type of quarterback, really a multi-purpose, dual threat quarterback. And he's had massive success with all three of those very different kinds of quarterbacks. So, it makes me feel like he can work with whatever kind of quarterback comes in here. I am thinking more and more that it may be Will Levis, because I think Will Levis has the physical tools. I think that Anthony Richardson does too, but he's a couple of years away from starting in this league. So I tend to think it's going to be Levis, but with the Indianapolis Colts, who the hell knows?
Yeah, we'll certainly find out. Indiana basketball has certainly had a good turn of fortune. They reached what I call a line of demarcation a while back, and since then it has been peaches and rainbows for the most part. Not always beautiful, but getting a win at Michigan last, which was, you call it kind of an ugly win, but it's a beautiful win, really, when you go on the road and you win a game like that. That's actually a thing of beauty.
And they played kind of their B game. I didn't think they played a great game, but
no offense.
But they went on the road. They used their defense in the last however many minutes it was that Michigan went scoreless. 5 minutes, and they gutted it out. And that to me might be the most significant win of the season. You could talk about beating Purdue and some of the other nice wins they've had during this stretch, but I just thought going in there, playing your B game, winning with toughness down the stretch against a team that desperately needed a victory to stay in any kind of contention for the NCAA tournament was really, really impressive.
Absolutely. And of course, a big part of that, Trace Jackson Davis, his play. You asked Mike Woodson the other day in the press conference about him, and here's what Mike had to say.
Well, I just think the maturity of him, when we started a little over a year and a half ago, he's grown. I thought he was great last season, on both ends of the floor. I go back to when I took the job and I was watching film on him, there was just a lot of holes in his game to me, just mainly from the defensive standpoint of not blocking shots as athletic as he was, and not plugging the holes from a defensive standpoint. These are things that I saw from a defensive standpoint. And then offensively, I just thought he needed to learn how to play with more juice, more energy. And I thought he did that last season. And this season is just at another level, man. I mean, he's doing things, I think we put him in position to handle the ball. Because I did this in the pros with guys like Al Horford, Josh Smith, Melo, that could rebound the ball and initiate your break offensively that gives you early strikes that way. And he's really been good in that area and been able to make plays off the bounce himself individually. So, I just don't see a lot of holes in his game now. Everybody talk about, well, he doesn't shoot jump shots, which he does everything else. He's playing at a high level, man. And hey, we're gonna need that the rest of the way because right now we're still shorthanded in terms of bigs. Logan and Race being out, it's hard to find.
Mike Woodson responding to Bob Kravitz's question in a presser the other day, but he is definitely playing at a different level than he was at the start of the season. I know he was dealing with some back issues, but there's so much more that has gone into this change for him, for this team. You don't go to this level all of a sudden. It's just a combination of things. I think that they made the decision mentally. They had that players only meeting. Obviously, coaching continues. they're still dealing with injuries of other guys. They've learned to kind of play without them. I think they've learned to play with what they have, and those guys have kind of settled in. Trey Galloway settled into a role. Miller Kopp seems to have settled into a role to where he's expanded it somewhat and playing. He played great defense against Michigan, especially in the second half against Jet Howard. So this team is really kind of finding its roles, it seems.
Yes, absolutely. And to me, this is like a continuation of the second half of the Michigan game in the Big Ten tournament. And just generally the way they played and the way Trace played down the stretch of the season, especially in the tournament, the Big Ten tournament last year, and the short stay they had in the NCAA tournament. Yeah, he's taken it to an entirely new level. I didn't know if he had it in him, but he is playing so hard, so passionately. And I give Mike Woodson a ton of credit. Not only has Mike been able to retain him, but he's been able to coach him and give a credit to the assistant coaching staff, whoever specifically works with the bigs. And I don't know who that would be, but they've done a fabulous job with Trace. And I asked Mike later in the press conference about his legacy, about Trace's legacy. And I think coming into this season, his legacy was really good player on a really bad team. And I think, having stuck around here for another year, I think his legacy hopefully will be that he was the best player on a really good team that made noise in the NCAA tournament.
Absolutely. And I think, I don't know why I've been having this feeling, if they can get this double bye, I think they have, well, I know they have as good a chance to win the Big Ten tournament as they've ever had, because there's not a team in the conference they can't beat. They've shown that. And they'll have them all on a neutral floor in Chicago. Right. They'll have them all on a neutral floor, so it won't matter. So I think it's going to be very interesting, and this could be a special season for them in that regard, since Indiana has never won a Big Ten tournament.
That's right. That's right. We all remember what Bob Knight thought of the Big Ten tournament and conference tournaments in general. But who's great in the Big Ten? Now, Purdue is clearly the class of the conference, but we're starting slowly to see a few chinks in the armor. It seems like when you press them, things get a little scattered. And look, you knew that at some point the freshman guards were going to play like freshman guards, and specifically Braden Smith. Now, do I think he'll get it together? Yeah. Do I think Purdue's going to make some noise? Yeah. But I don't think they're a dominant team necessarily. I think they're just a damn good team in a conference where there are no dominant teams. So, I'd love to see IU and Purdue meet in the Big Ten tournament if that's possible through the brackets.
Well, I think it should be very possible, especially if Indiana manages to finish second. That should put them on the opposite side of the bracket, with on course to meet, both getting the double bye. So
wouldn't that be something?
And that would be oh my God, can you imagine? It would just be yes, that would be a first. That would be another first. My
only question now is, how do they reintroduce Xavier Johnson? I don't know exactly when he's supposed to come back, but you've had Jalen Hood-Schifino playing at such a high level, except for some road games where he hasn't played particularly well. But hey, he's a freshman. You got to expect that. But how are they going to put Hood-Schifino back off the ball and put Xavier at the point? Do they keep JHS at the point? I think Mike Woodson's got some really interesting questions he's got to answer here in the next couple of weeks, assuming that Xavier is back in due time.
Yeah, I was talking about that last night with someone. I'm wondering do you play Jalen Hood-Schifino and X at the same time, or do you keep them separate? Because Jalen Hood seems to have really grown into his role as being
Yes.
that the guy, and it is really working with Trace Jackson Davis right now. They're the best. I mean, you've heard a lot of people say they might be the best 1-2 punch in the country at the moment.
Right. No, I would agree. I mean, I don't know all the 1-2 punches in the country, but they're certainly impressive. And yeah, so I just that's gonna be a tough question for Mike. How you pull that off. I mean, their bench has been okay, but maybe you move Xavier to the bench and have him, run that group. So I don't really know, but that's why Mike Woodson gets paid more money than I do.
Absolutely. And another
Just a little.
Trace Jackson Davis and Zach Edey.
Yeah.
Trace just won his a Big Ten record, 4th consecutive Player of the Week honor. And throughout the year, early on, people had just coronated Zach Edey as every Player of the Year and everything. And I'm like, man, I think they need to hold up on that. And Trace's resurgence as he continues to come, I think his play is more dominant than Zach Edey's is, but people think I'm a homer when I say that because I cover Indiana. I'm not. But
I think Edey was running away with it. I think Trace has closed the gap. That said, if the season continues on this particular trajectory, I still think Edey wins Player of the Year. He needs. I mean, it's something weird has got to happen for Edey not to win it. But I would agree that Trace has come on like gangbusters, and he has closed the gap dramatically.
And we'll look forward to what's up next for you.
Well, I talked with Norv Turner, who was the guy who gave Shane Steichen his first job in the NFL. Talked to him yesterday. I'm going to write a column about that that will be in either today or tomorrow morning. And then I'm going to Salt Lake City, believe it or not. Fun. For the NBA All-Star game, because the Pacers have Halliburton in the All-Star game. They've got Halliburton and Hield in the three-point shooting, and they've got Mathurin. Whoa, what was that?
You going to NBA All-Star game? I was getting ready. Yo.
They got Mathurin and Nembhard in the Rising Stars game. So they'll have good representation for a team that's probably, one of the, that got the 5th or 6th worst record in the NBA, but they're well represented. So I'm going to go out there and see what kind of trouble I can get into in Salt Lake City, which sounds like an impossible task. But if anybody's up for the job, it's me.
I can imagine. Well, you have fun. Are you taking your skis?
No, I'm not taking my skis. This is kind of funny. We were living in Denver, and my wife bought me new skis and boots. And 2 weeks later, I got the offer from the Indianapolis Star. So those skis have never been used. They're just sitting in a closet somewhere in my house and have never seen the light of day.
That is hilarious.
No,
the great Bob,
I'll be working, man. I'll be working.
The great Bob Kravitz from The Athletic. Make sure you give him a follow. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, bud.
Thank you. We'll see him again next week. And make sure you give him a follow at The Athletic as well, following all the coverage of whether it's Colts, the Hoosiers, or whatever it is. Complete coverage of it all. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by GoTeen, a part of the Endeavor Hospitality Wild Club. You can go to GoTeenBites.com or pick them up at BB's Market. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal. Now I can go get my coffee
There you go.
with a lid on it.
Yeah. Morning, Kyle.
Morning.
I'm glad we were able to move your schedule or move your time around for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad it worked out.
Going to be in my car, so I don't know if I could do it that way. Probably not.
It's not always the best idea. I don't blame you. Jimbo, you got about 1 minute. All right, 30 seconds. Then bring us back in.
Fatality's Wild Club is located next door to Southern Stone Restaurant on Patterson and Rogers. It's one of the most popular gathering spots in Bloomington. Whether you're out on a date with your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Wednesday. It is February 15, and we are joined by the man who knows it all in Indiana high school sports, Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star, brought to you by Cheryl Sizemore and Remax Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. It could be the difference between you getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Welcome, Kyle Neddenriep. How has your week gone, man? It's getting busy.
Yeah, good, Jim. How are you doing today?
Just looking forward to this great weather. Unbelievable before it gets cold again this weekend, of course. But I guess I'll try to enjoy something.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to snow out in Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska out there somewhere today. So I guess that's coming our way eventually, but not today, thank goodness. So
yep, absolutely. What's been up new for you? I know like last week we talked about the girls' playoffs had started, but getting close. The boys are it's getting crunch time as well for them.
yeah, sectional draw comes Sunday, so a lot of kind of a lot of things to think about with that. And I had a chance to see a couple teams this weekend, Mount Vernon and Greenfield Central. I have a story coming on Greenfield Central probably Friday morning. But that's a good example of a sectional that's just going to be really sort of dependent on the draw, because you've got, they play up at Muncie Central, and, Muncie Central's a lot better this season. Greenfield Central's having their best season in years. I mean, they probably since their last sectional championship was 1998, which is, hard to think, most teams obviously don't go that long, but they're in that sectional at Muncie Central. They've got Anderson's very good, Greenfield Central's good, Mount Vernon's young but very good. New Pal's having their best season in a long time. Richmond and Muncie Central both improved teams, and then Pendleton Heights the only team with a losing record, but they're also kind of a scary team. So, that's an example of one I think that the draw can matter quite a bit in that 7-team sectional, but the same for, Carmel and their sectional with Zionsville, and also Noblesville, Fishers, and Westfield, all very good. That sectional 10 at Warren Central is always really tough with Cathedral's defending state champs, but, you always got good teams there with Warren, North Central. I think Lawrence North and Lawrence Central are both capable, and then Addix has won the city, and they're playing much better. So, a lot of, that we'll see what happens Sunday. I think that's 5:00. 5 to 7, I believe. Obviously the larger classes will be towards the end of the show, but we'll find out the path, and at that point, and probably I kind of feel that way this week because everybody's kind of looking forward to the sectional. It's not so much about game planning for these current games, but especially once you find out the draw. And I talked to a coach yesterday who said we're not even, we play next week, but we're not even really worried about that game. You just kind of focus on game planning for your first sectional game, or, if you have a bye, you're kind of probably looking at 2 teams you might play against, but pretty quickly it all becomes about, getting ready for that sectional, and that'll be 2 weeks from yesterday. That'll get started. So we're almost there.
Looking forward to that. Jalen Harrelson, man, we talk about him because he's one of IU's top targets. They have been all over him for a while. He's just a sophomore, but man, we're going to get sick and tired of watching him play because he's got 2 more years after this year. It's so good. We're going to get tired of waiting for this guy. He's so good. I mean, man, oh man, he had 48 points in a 73-70 loss the other night to Anderson. Overtime loss, 48 points. That's a lot for anybody ever in a high school game, and to be a sophomore and to have that ability, man, that's some talent.
Yeah, I kicking myself. I went to a different game that night, and I saw a good game, but I was kind of like, man, I hope, because that was my second choice, and I wish I would have gone. But then I saw him Friday. They played Cathedral at Cathedral, and he was held to 13. It was mostly he still, but the thing about Harrelson is that scoring's not even the first thing I really, obviously he can do that, but it's his passing ability. And I thought the first half against Cathedral, he probably tried to force a little bit too much. And I'm sure coming off that big night, he was probably feeling, maybe he had to go do that again against a really good team. But I thought as that game went on, it was a very choppy sort of, in my opinion, sort of not the best officiated game, but just kind of had I hate to say that, but it didn't have a good flow to it,
Well, we certainly hate when that happens. Hate when a good flow gets blocked.
I felt like he really, played better in the second half, and his does a great job kind of controlling the game from that standpoint, not even so much from a scoring standpoint. So, but yeah, and then the fact that he's still 15 years old is just kind of mind blowing, that he doesn't turn 16 until April. So he's doing this as a, not an old sophomore. He's on the younger side of being a sophomore. So pretty incredible what he's, and his mental makeup. He talked to him after games. He's very, just easy to talk to, and I think that's something too. Sometimes you cover guys over the years, and they that part of it can be a turnoff sometimes. And I would say that's a small percentage, but he just really seems like he gets it, and one of the better players to come through here in a long time.
I was going to say he's 6'8" point guard or 6'7". What is he?
Probably 6'7". Yeah, I'd give him 6'6", 6'7", somewhere in there.
But as a point guard and physically his body, oh my God, I would not want to have to tackle him. He is physically gifted, and to think about a 6'6" point guard that has the talent he has right now, that he's still in high school. He still has 2 more years in high school after this season. So it's crazy. I know he's been to Indiana several times on visits. Seems to enjoy getting up there for those games.
Yeah, and I think IU's a real possibility. It's still early, so who knows, what happens and the NBA stuff and all that can, we're still a ways off. I know, he was talking about also, when he went to that IU Purdue game, he's watching Purdue and kind of how they fit, and they're hoping to get him up there here soon too. I don't know if that's, set yet, but he's kind of in the time of year where you're mostly trying to fit everything around your high school's practices and schedule and games and whatnot. So, a lot of the recruiting stuff is just kind of, you might be going to games or things like that and watching how teams do on TV, but that sort of, becomes more of a forefront thing here in the, once AAU starts. But yeah, I think IU's a real factor for him. And I honestly, their style of play and fit and everything, I think would probably fit him pretty well, to be honest. But we'll see. I mean, like I said, there's a long way to go, and a lot of teams can get involved, that we don't even know about yet. So it's, but I think just enjoying him for what he is now is he's one of the best players, in any class, and not just the sophomore class, but I would put him in the, he's got to be top 5 player currently in the state, so. That's pretty rare. I wouldn't say that about a lot of even the guys who go on to be great players as seniors. A lot of times when they're sophomores, they're not to that point yet. And you talk about his body. Yeah, he's become a lot stronger and everything, but he's not one of those guys who looks like he's already mature physically. Like he's still, I still think he's got a ways to go, and he's a fluid athlete and obviously a very good ball handler. So. But yeah, I mean, it's just I don't see very many holes with this game. Maybe his outside shooting, but I think his percentage is actually pretty good. So there's not a lot of things he can't do.
And that's just special. And another name that I've seen a few times at IU games, especially the good ones, Flory Badunga, a name that everybody, of course, wants and covets and would like to have, but. He's been to, I think, at least 3 IU games. I think he was there for the Purdue game as well to see that win, which was good for Indiana, and for them to have Trace Jackson Davis playing at the level he's playing at to continue to get better like he is this year. I would think that's something that catches Flory Badunga's eye.
Yeah, I think so, and I haven't seen him here recently. I saw him right before. I think it was in January, but maybe get to see him again this week. But I really like him a lot. I think we've talked before, like from last year to this year, it's just night and day as far as how far he's come as a player and a shot blocker and but he was blocking shots last year, but just, the things he does as far as offensively, I think weren't things he could do last year. And that's still, I'm really curious to see where he goes in like the next 2 years or next year, just as far as that goes. Because he's only going to improve as an offensive player, and he already is. So I think that the ceiling for him is just like, you just wonder how far he can go. He doesn't do a lot of shooting, from
that was going to be my question, because I know he's able to play so giftedly around the rim. Does he play it outside, away from the basket at all, or has he?
Well, they don't really ask him to do that. That's the thing. It's like they want him to go block to block. They want him to develop that, touch around the basket, which he's done. And I think that shows, he's not, I don't think last year he could make a little jump hook or now he can do that. And he shoots free throws a lot better. I saw the game I went to, Marion tried to hack a Flory, the hack-a-shack style, and it didn't work. He knocked down, I think, 3 out of 4 free throws, and they got out of that. And they were fouling him away from the ball. Like he didn't even have the ball, kind of like, that philosophy. But but that didn't work. So I'd have to go look what his percentage is on free throws, but his form and his touch have very visually, you can tell he's worked on that a lot. So, but yeah, he's so coachable, he'll do what you tell him to do, or he'll try to, and he runs block to block. He's just really a sponge, I think, when it comes to being coached. And I think that's the best sign for him. It's like you're starting with a guy who hasn't played a lot of competitive basketball coming in last year. And then all of a sudden, he's learning everything, and it's coming at him fast. And you can see sometimes it's, at least last year, it was coming fast, but now he seems like things have slowed down and he really gets it, and yeah, he doesn't maybe not shoot, but they don't. Why would you want him to go shoot? If you're Kokomo coach,
No, he didn't need to.
Yeah, I mean, you just go dominate the rim. I mean, so that's pretty much what he's doing. And I get, I know some people kind of come back and say, well, he can't do that against better competition. I'd say,
I'm thinking down the road in college and later on. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, does he have that ability, or has he tried it yet? Which, like, he is, boy, around the basket. Holy cow. It's like, get out of the way. You're not going to stop it. There's nobody is there anybody in the state that can stop him around the basket?
Well, we saw this summer, I covered a game where they played Cathedral and Kokomo played. So it was Booker against Badunga, and it was a Charlie Hughes shootout at Carmel they played. And it was, they're different players completely. I mean, Booker's more of a perimeter shooter, and, Badunga's like we said, he's around the rim, and
I think he likes it around. He likes the action around the rim. He does not shy away from it, and that's what makes him so good.
Yeah, and he won that battle, and again, it wasn't probably fair to Booker to say, because they are different, even though they're both really tall players. I mean, they're different type of players, and Booker made some threes and he did some good things too. But I would say, coming away from that, it was like, wow, Fleury really played well against a tall player, so you can't say he can't do it against a tall player, but I will be curious, against the, but he's only going to get better too. So you can't like compare him to what the Big Ten looks like now or anything. I mean, give him another year, and he's going to be stronger, and he's going to be just, I can't even, next year, man, who's going to stop that guy at Kokomo? I mean, he's going to be unbelievable.
It's just going to be fun to watch these guys as they come back for another year. Kyle, what's up next for you?
Like I said, I've got a Greenfield Central story coming. I've got, we'll have Sunday. We'll have a breakdown of the sectional draw, which is always fun. And I know teams will be getting together to watch that together. And that's always a good time in our state for that. And got some other things cooking. I've got a story on a kid from University High School. They're having a phenomenal season. Sabian Kane, I think he's going to be a Division I player. He's only a junior as well. And I think he could be an Indian All-Star next year. But he lost his dad 2 years ago, and kind of went through, like any 15-year-old kid would, a tough time. But now he's really grown up and having a great season. So I had a story on him, just ran this morning, that was just posted on Indy Star. So a lot of the usual stuff, players of the week and all that. But that's a little bit of a unique story that ran today.
Make sure you go find that and check out everything that Kyle has. It is all good and worth a while to read. Kyle Neddenriep, cannot thank you enough, my friend.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
You betcha. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. For those of you down in the Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Southern Indiana areas, they've served those communities for 3 decades. No one can get you in the home better, quicker, and less expensive than Barbara Pop. Reach out to her, Barbara at barbarapop.com, or our friend Matt Lincoln, Matt at barbarapop.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore. One of the little joys in life, John, I found a lid that did not come with this cup. This is the Dustin Schutte Outsider thing I bought that is actually supposed to be one of those whatever beer koozie kind of deals, but I've been using it as a coffee cup. Found a lid that fits it perfectly.
There you go. It is a simple
I'm like,
pleasure in life.
get out of here. I'm like, get out of here with that. Get out of here.
Out of here.
Get out of here. What is this? 9:50?
This is 9:30. It's open segment.
9:30. 9:30, and then the fun begins.
Then the fun begins.
Bozich.
Rick Bozich. Funky monks around the run.
Hold on. Hold it. All right, there's that. I don't need that. What I need is not that. I need. The Raiders released Derek Carr. Did you see that?
The Raiders.
The Raiders.
You think the Colts will go after Derek Carr?
They better not. They go after one more old, on his way out quarterback. Somebody will burn that franchise down.
He ain't that old, but I know he's not young. How old is Derek Carr? He might be older than I think he is. Let me see. Yeah, he's 31. Yeah, he's getting there. All right, 30 seconds.
Home-cooked, nutritious meal prep that we cook up. The Fresh Fork takes care of all the planning, shopping, and prepping and can even deliver them to your doorstep once a week. That's right, it's the fastest, simplest, and easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here on this wonderful Wednesday. Weather expected to be in the 60s here in Bloomington. Wherever you are, I'm looking outside and all I see is a blue sky and sunshine. And that is nice. It's currently 57 degrees, so I think that thing stopped at 58. There you go. Expected to reach a high of 65 today. Not bad. I'll take it. I'll take it. Just looking over at the brackets. Kentucky not expected to make it. I don't know if they get in or not.
Mike DeCourcy currently has Indiana as a 3 seed.
Well, I think that is deserving, and I think that people that have listened to us know that Mike does not give. He's not. That's not a homer thing. He's not. He doesn't give.
Absolutely not.
He does not
He's
give.
the fourth most accurate bracketologist, if you will. I know he doesn't like that term. He likes being called a bracket analyst. But you know what Joe Lunardi, where he ranks?
Well, I know you say that, but I
oh yeah, we've talked about this before. He's supposedly in the 80s. I don't know how many different people they put in this ranking, or how many of them are notable people,
or how
but
or how they're doing it. Yeah, I don't know how they're doing it, but
I think it's based on their final bracket compared to who is actually in the tournament is what I'm guessing. I haven't looked at the metrics, but I think that would be the only way I would feel like you could base it off of, you know.
the hardest thing about Mike's is finding Mike's bracket.
The best way to find it, go on Twitter and you search Fox College basketball, and they
what
post
about
it every.
What about just going on a computer?
Well, you can do this on a computer. This is what I'm. The place where I always find it is on Fox College Hoops. Was it Tuesday and Thursday? They post it and tag Mike DeCourcy.
So I think this is his. I think I'm looking at his most recent one.
I'll have it in just a second.
Daggone it, where's the stupid date? No, God, that's last year.
Here we go.
Gee
I've got
whiz.
his newest one. It's
I know, but I can't look at it.
Okay. Well, there's
I'm
just a quick little breakdown of it, though, in terms of what you have.
Tell me where you found
Big
it.
Ten teams.
Where'd you find it?
At CBB on Fox.
Oh, on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. He did mention that it was not the easiest to find.
Yeah, it is. I can never find it when I Google search it. So this is the best way to access it. So for those of you who prefer to look at Mike DeCourcy's bracket over others,
CBB on Fox.
This is likely the best way to find it. Give Mike a follow on Twitter at TSN Mike, or give at CBB on Fox a follow, because they post his brackets twice a week? His was posted 21 hours ago. But yeah, the breakdown currently 8 Big Ten teams. That includes Maryland as a 8 seed facing number 9 Auburn. Northwestern as a 7 seed facing number 10 Oklahoma State.
There we go.
What else do we have here? Rutgers, a 6 seed facing number 11 Memphis. Iowa, a 7 seed facing number 10 Arkansas. Let's see. Purdue as a 1 seed facing either 16 Howard or Fairleigh Dickinson. Let's see.
Now, see
Michigan
where they're
State
placed.
as a 7, number 10 Boise State. Go ahead before I continue.
Where they're placed also is important because where they end up playing.
Well, currently, I'm getting over to Indiana. Indiana currently is in the Midwest region.
According to Mike.
According to Mike DeCourcy. Currently as a 3 seed facing off against number 14 Furman. They would be in the same region as number 1 Kansas, number 5 Illinois, number 2 Arizona. So potentially an Elite 8 matchup with Arizona. You're talking about locations. I know they don't have this on.
because these teams totally mean nothing. None of this is going to come to fruition of exactly who they're playing.
Well, of course not, but we can have fun talking about it.
I know, but the part about it being where he's got them in the Midwest. All right. So that as a 3 seed in the Midwest, that would place them in Greensboro, North Carolina. And then they would end up in Las Vegas. That's what I was curious. So they're on that puts them in the west side of the bracket.
Essentially a western area. I mean, you're going from, think about it. You're going all the way from East Coast to West Coast because you're going to be playing
what I was
Greensboro.
What I was hoping is that, but wait a minute. I didn't think that they could be on the same side as they need to. I don't think that they're going to end up being on the same side as Purdue. And right now, that 3 seed, that current 3 seed slot would have them. No. I'm looking at the wrong one. Where the hell are they?
Yeah, I think the region. Someone in the comments is saying that the regional for the Midwest is Kansas City, and that makes more sense because
it is.
Yeah,
and that's. Oh, I know why. Because I'm looking at the brackets, but these brackets had different teams than that does. This is actually the NCAA bracket, I think. And it has currently Purdue as the number 1 seed in the Midwest, which is what I would prefer to see, because Indiana and Purdue will not be on the same side of the bracket. Number
Correct.
1. Number 2, if Purdue is on that Midwest number 1, then that puts Indiana on the east side. Currently on this bracket, they're also a 3 seed. I lost them though. Where's the damn 3 seed? But anyway, they're on the opposite side, which would put them through. One I looked at last night had them playing in Orlando, and then Louisville. That is the perfect scenario.
Oh, that's a great scenario.
That is the absolute dream scenario.
And not only because you get to travel to Florida, right? You get to
there's that, and then Louisville,
and then come back home.
But that and the Louisville aspect of it,
instead of going from Dayton, Ohio to wherever it was they were last year. Was it Portland, Oregon that they played in last year?
Yes.
Hopefully we don't get a repeat of that.
It was absolutely god-awful miserable. All right, this is even better. The one I'm currently looking at, the NCAA, has them as a 4 seed, but they're playing in Orlando. Yeah. And then that would feed them into Louisville. That's a dream scenario.
And that's the South region, right? The Louisville regional.
Yes. And it's number 1 with Alabama. Let's see, who's the 2?
Where is the East regional
Baylor
hosted at?
Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay. So in terms of
no. The regional itself,
like the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 rounds.
New York.
So Madison Square Garden.
No, I think it's in Albany.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would they have the Elite 8? I'm going to take a look, because usually Joe Lenardi's bracketology has the locations of each regional. I'm going to take a look and see what.
I don't think it's in Madison Square Garden. I thought that I saw that it was in Albany, New York.
Let's take a look here.
There's so much to keep track of.
Oh, it just says New York. I mean, it could be Madison Square Garden, but
I don't believe it is. I think that it is in Albany, which I don't get that. It is at the Garden. Derek's saying it's at the Garden. I don't understand why they wouldn't.
But then Martin says it's in Albany.
See, okay. I thought it was in Albany.
Let's see what we've got here.
I thought it was in Albany. So
20. I'm trying to find a correct answer so we can get this taken care of. Okay, here we go. The Midwest Regional is at Kansas City at the T-Mobile Center. West Regional is in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. The South Regional, Louisville, Kentucky at the KFC Yum Center. And the East Regional, New York City, Madison Square Garden.
Wow. Where's Albany? What's Albany involved in this? They're
a first or second round site.
Perfect.
So
either way, I would much rather see Indiana in Orlando and Louisville. That would be.
Oh, of course. But I mean, honestly, in terms of regional sites, the only one you don't want to be in if you're Indiana is Las Vegas, the West Regional. For obvious reasons.
What are those obvious reasons?
Well, travel. I'm talking about in terms of fan travel.
Las Vegas is not a problem. Portland is a problem. There's a big difference. Las Vegas, there are multiple direct flights. It's not nearly as expensive. Dude, I'm telling you, it pales in comparison price-wise. Hotels are less expensive. Hell, they'd love it. It would be great. It would be fun. Are you kidding me? They travel. They already traveled. They showed you. Indiana fans have showed you they'll travel. They've been to Las Vegas this year. We'll go back. Let's go back. But no, I'm not saying that. I'd rather see him in Louisville, and that would be. Can you
I would love to
imagine?
see him in Louisville too.
Oh
That'd be
my God! I
fantastic.
mean, that would be just. It would be awesome. It's been a while since I don't know.
But fans would love to go to Madison Square Garden. I mean, there's like I said, there's no.
Well,
really
Indiana
no
fans
bad
would
place
travel
go.
to these destinations. Yeah, this year there's not. Last year the NCAA it was like Kevin Warren was running it or something.
Now, first and second round locations. Let's see. I mean, there's Sacramento, California, Orlando, which you've already mentioned, Greensboro, North Carolina, Des Moines, Iowa, Denver, Columbus, Ohio, Birmingham, Alabama, Albany, New York is a first and second round, and then obviously Dayton, which they won't have to worry about this year. So yeah, I guess what's the worst case scenario for you first round? Sacramento?
Oh yeah, that would suck.
So I guess outside of Sacramento, anything.
But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen to Indiana. As long as they
at this
continue
point,
to
I
play
wouldn't
well,
think so.
the NCAA is trying to mitigate those ridiculous travel plans as much as possible. And everybody will say, well, look what they did last year. Well, that was a different scenario. Indiana left their fate in somebody else's hands. That's not the case this year. They're solidly in the tournament. They're solidly playing well and have the opportunity to continue to raise their stock, which only raises their seed. The higher your seed, the more leeway you get from the NCAA as far as they're going to try to not make you travel.
Of course.
For two reasons. Number one, they know Indiana fans will travel and go to the games. They'd like to sell tickets in addition to TV because they don't sell a lot of tickets to some of these places. You know, some of those games just suck from a spectator standpoint. You're like, damn, there's nobody there. I mean, how many times in the past have you watched a early round NCAA game with good teams? It was like, there's nobody there. It's crazy. They've tried to eliminate that as much as possible by allowing teams to play in different places early on. So I look forward to where it ends up. At least none of the regions are terrible this year, so that's awesome. Hey, we got lots more coming up, and especially we get to talk with the Hall of Famer Rick Bozich from WDW.com right after this. Appreciate you being on with us. We're brought to you by Meadowworks Brewing Company, a part of the Endeavor Hospitality Wild Club, served in all of the Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Also, you can just go right to the source. Endeavor Meadowworks Brewing Company, located just off the square in Bloomington on 6th Street. Stop by. Have one today. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for a
Good morning, Rick.
Rick Bozich looks like spring training starting, baby.
Today.
Does it start today? I was going to look it up. Does it really?
I think the Reds started yesterday. The White Sox start today. Yeah. Yes, they do.
Right. It's on. Where's the Sox's facility?
It's not far from the Reds. It's Glendale, like where the Super Bowl was played.
Oh.
And the Reds are a little farther, I think, west and south. Are you going to Northwestern?
I'm not.
You're not?
I wish I would have now. I went last year, but I've got guys that are going up there. It's just so late, hard.
It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah. It should be a good one.
Should be. But they lost to him 3 out of 4. 3 of the last 4.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think the last 3 games Indiana has played in general this season, I guess it would be the last 2. They've had the exact same record. They're both 18-7. Last game, they had the same conference record with Michigan. And then, no, excuse me. It was Rutgers, too. So, yeah, I guess the last 3 games, depending on the way you look at it. It's not that big a deal, but I look at weird stuff like that.
We were just looking at the brackets, seeing the possibilities. At least none of the regions suck. Las Vegas, Louisville, Kansas City, and New York.
Well, New York only sucks because it's so expensive.
Is it? And is it in New York City or Albany?
I think it's in Madison Square Garden.
We kept.
You
going
didn't
back
believe
and
me,
forth.
Jim? I looked it up on the NCAA's website.
Oh, you did? Okay, I did not hear that. My bad. I kept seeing Albany.
It's because they're a first round site.
Makes sense.
Yep.
I'd like to see Indiana get into that East region or South region. Come to Louisville.
Who else wouldn't Alabama be there?
This one, this one has Alabama number 1 there, which would be good. Who's number 2? Baylor.
Houston, I guess, would go to Kansas. You said Kansas City's one of them?
Yeah,
Mhm.
They've got Purdue. They've got Houston and Las Vegas. And this is the NCAA's.
Yeah,
10 seconds.
Andy
guys. Here we
Katz
go.
was in
That's
there.
Andy Katz. So,
Restaurants.
yeah.
Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Speed Radio here on this Wednesday post Valentine's Day. I hope everyone got their sweetie something. Rick, were you a good boy?
Yes, I was. I'm always a good boy.
That's good. It's all spring training time. I was joking in the break. I was going to look up. So when spring training starts, and Rick says it's today, and I'm like, damn, right on it, man. He looks like you're ready for spring training. You ready for some baseball?
Absolutely. I think the first game is either a week from Friday or a week from Saturday. So they usually have the first game on streaming. Just got my email today that my MLB TV subscription is being renewed with the added bonus this year of now you can watch any AAA or AA game you want to watch. So there's no off nights. There's no off nights anymore.
That's I'm sure you enjoy that. Great. The college basketball season has been a fun one. There's been one where there's been no team of dominance where you want to talk about Purdue or not, but they have not dominated. Houston has had a great run. We don't know. They haven't, played the same type of schedule as other people, but they're very good. Alabama is one of those teams, but no one has really scared the bejesus out of anybody. And then you got the other end, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, unbelievably struggling to get into the tournament this year.
Yeah, I mean, nobody has separated themselves. That's for sure. I think we've had a decent amount of parity in recent years, but even more so this year. I mean, so if there's a team that I think that you really like, you can probably get pretty good odds on them, futures odds to win the national championship. Because I could go through the major conferences and probably pick 2 or 3 teams in every major conference that's good enough to get to a Final Four. But if you ask me to pick the favorite right now, I couldn't say anybody. I mean, Alabama's probably the most talented team, but you got a lot of freshmen. Two of their top 3 players, I think, are freshmen, and they've never done it ever. I mean, the pressure is going to be mounting on that team. I remember when they had a really good team in 1987. Wimp Sanderson was the coach, and they were the number 1 seed in the South Regional, and they came up here to Freedom Hall and played, and Rick Pitino and that Providence team took them out. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to be fun. And all starts 4 weeks from last night, I think, is the first 4, right? Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Could the world handle if Alabama won a basketball national championship?
I don't think they'd handle it very well in Lexington, but
I don't think they would handle it very well anywhere.
Right. People have seen what Nate Oates can do, and this isn't it's not like the first time they've been good. They've been good since he's been there. So
I've loved Nate Oates since he was at Buffalo. I was like, oh God, someone better get him. And Alabama was smart. Not only was they smart enough to get him, but then they were smart enough to lock him up soon afterwards for that. The Big Ten conference race has been a fun one. Well, not really fun. Purdue got out and got away. Boy, you could have, would have, should have all you want, but all you have to think about for Indiana is Iowa. There's no other game. The Iowa loss, that one right there, you take that one off the books, and then you look across the way at Purdue. Man, they escaped in overtime against Nebraska. They escaped with a last-second shot against Ohio State. And I don't recall what happened with Michigan State. There was something there that they barely escaped. But boy, this could be a completely different story right now, but it's still close to being what it could be, because Maryland, fans have to hope for Maryland to do what they've done all year, win at home. If they're able to do that, then that changes this conference race in a hurry.
Yeah. In Maryland, I'm pretty sure the only home game they've lost was to UCLA.
It is.
So, and they'll have a big crowd for that. They've got a very what the right word, a vibrant fan base. They get up for big games. It's a tough place to play on the road. I think they'll probably fill that place for the Purdue game and want to have.
Well, there has to be, Rick. I mean, how's Maryland's a good team, but they're not in the upper. We're not talking about Maryland. We've been talking about Indiana and Purdue and Illinois, but Maryland's just kind of been just hitting there. But they win at home. No one can beat them at home for some reason, and that is what's kept them up there so high. Do they have a real shot at beating this Purdue team?
Yeah, I give them a solid. I don't know what the Ken Palm numbers say, but I give them a solid 40% chance to win at home. You saw the way they played against IU. They controlled most of that game. So I think they can do it. And, we'll have to see if it's accurate or not, but people have suggested over the last 3 games that the Big Ten coaches have figured out the best way to attack Purdue, which is to pressure their guards. Right. And their guards have struggled. And I think we've talked about this for weeks, that I think, Braden Smith and Lawyer are both terrific players. I mean, they really are. They'll probably be all first team Big Ten, all freshmen. But it's hard to win in the NCAA tournament with 2 freshman guards, unless, one of them is I can think of Mike Bibby or somebody that is definitely going to be a pro. And you can't say those guys are going to be pros. And I think opposing teams are going to do what, Northwestern and Indiana and what was the game in between? They barely won. Was it Iowa? I don't remember. Didn't Iowa fall behind and then make a big rally and make it a little bit closer? But anyway, pressure the Purdue guards. Make them show they can handle pressure, and that's the way to attack them. Not saying it's always going to beat them, but it's going to make them uncomfortable. And Painter should be more prepared for it now. And in some ways, it's better to find it out now than it is to find it out in March and make some adjustments.
I'm surprised it took people this long. I mean,
right.
I'm like, you got 2 freshman guards, man. You got to get up in their face and keep. And they also double teamed Edey pretty well. I mean, they were up in his face, and that seemed, it kept him from being able to get into to do anything, to move, to make a move. They got under him. And that is what they stopped him. They stopped him from moving. They were taking the ball from him. In those last 5 minutes, they really put Purdue looked like they were just confused.
Yeah, and that's why it'll come down at some point to First and Gillis and Brandon Newman and those guys to step up and hit shots. I mean, I don't consider Ethan Morton a scorer at all. He's a minimal force on offense other than ball handling and passing. He's not somebody you can put your weakest defender on him. But, Purdue, what do they have now? Still a 3-game lead in the league? I don't know. With Indiana has 5 losses, Purdue has 2.
Yes.
You got a pretty good comfort zone, but Indiana got ahead of Indiana. Is it It's 3, I guess now. Yeah, Northwestern, Rutgers, and Indiana. They've lost 3, so a 2-game lead. So
Yeah.
Indiana got a benefit last night because Rutgers lost and Illinois lost, so that helped them in their quest for, I think, which is the most attainable goal, which is finish in the top 4 of the Big Ten and get a double bye.
Yeah, and because of that, because of this season, because I mentioned this earlier, of this league being, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, Purdue is of course at the top, but
Right.
they're not beatable. They're not that dominant. I think this Big Ten tournament is going to be a great one, and it could be Indiana's first Big Ten tournament title. I think this is probably going to be their best chance in a long time. They're going to most likely receive the double bye, and I think they got a good shot this year, man.
Yeah, I mean, although I did hear last night, I think last year 3 of the 4 teams that got the double bye lost their first game in Indianapolis last year. So some people will say, you put yourself at a disadvantage because the team you're playing has already played a game or two and kind of more relaxed and stuff. But yeah, if winning a Big Ten tournament is really hard because you're going to have to beat 3 good teams to do it. And Indiana's never done that. And if they ever got to the championship game, all the talk about Indiana's never been in the championship game except for one time. Yeah, that was back in the 99 or 2000,
against Steve Alford, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was against Iowa. That there'll be all that talk about it, but that'd be a big accomplishment for Mike Woodson to do that. People would remember this team for that if they could win the Big Ten tournament, because Indiana's Big Ten tournament history is so terrible.
Oh, it's awful. Unbelievable, awful. I think Bob Knight set the precedent with that by just his disdain for
he didn't want to go to it. Yeah. I think there's some truth to that. But they had other good teams, like the 2 really good teams, 3 really good teams that Crean had. I mean, he never even got to the tournament championship game, right?
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's.
I was there the one year where some dude from Michigan hit a shot from the corner, I guess, right at the buzzer to beat him. Was that the Yogi Ferrell team? I think it was.
Is that one of the Minnesota losses or Wisconsin?
Minnesota losses the year that Dockich was the interim coach when that dude picked up the ball off the ground and threw it up and went in. Hoff Harbor, whatever his name was.
Oh man, yes. Mike Woodson has done under his short tenure here. You talk about that would be a great accomplishment, as it would. But I'd have to go back and do the research. But think about all the lists that have stopped under his tenure. The streak to Purdue, the streak to Michigan. There have been a streak to Rutgers. All these streaks that have been ended. There have been so many streaks that have been ended, and things that they've done that they have not done in 7 years since the 2016 last Big Ten championship team, or 7 years, however long it's been. They're playing that well. That's going back a while. That's almost 2 graduating classes of school of people here. It's for them. So Mike Woodson has to get a ton of credit for what has already happened. And whether people want to admit it or not, dude, look at the results. This stuff has happened. Look how long it did not happen and could not happen. So there's a reason for that change. Coach of the Year, however, is going to be a race, and it's going to be a 3-man race that I don't think is going to be decided until the very end. I think tonight is going to go a long way. If Mike Woodson goes to Northwestern and beats Northwestern as well as they have done and overachieved, I don't know if that puts him ahead of Chris Collins or not, because Northwestern was not expected to do what they're doing. So that gives him a bump up. And then you've got Matt Painter with Purdue. They weren't picked to win the Big Ten. Indiana was. So it's going to be odd how people decide to vote, but I think it's going to be what happens. What happens if Indiana goes to Purdue and beats Purdue at the end of the year? I don't know, but what are your thoughts on that right now?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are it'll be decided over the next 2.5 weeks of the regular season. That's all that's left. Early on, I thought it was going to be Shrewsbury. He was off to a really good start when Penn State was playing well. They've kind of dropped back now. But I agree with you. I think it'll probably be Painter or Collins with Woodson in third place right now, because I think they look past the injuries and they'll say, he was supposed to win anyway. But if Purdue goes out and finishes it out, and Ken Palm, believe it or not, has Purdue winning the league by 4 games. He's got Purdue finishing 16-4, and then Indiana, Northwestern, and Maryland all 12-8. So if Purdue wins the Big Ten with a 4-game cushion, I think it'll be Painter. But Northwestern will be in the discussion if they win tonight. And speaking of firsts, there's another first that Woodson needs to achieve, and that's tonight. He's never beaten Northwestern.
Oh, that's I can only chuckle at that one, man, because of
lost 3 in a row to Northwestern, and I think the one they won was in double overtime. So Chase Audige has made a career of hurting Indiana for sure, and Boo Buie isn't far behind. So that's the key to the game tonight. Galloway and Hood Schifino have to bring it defensively and not let those guys get rolling, because they got rolling in Assembly Hall, and they got rolling last year in that game that they won when Indiana was shorthanded up in Evanston. So we'll see if it's a good time to play them. And Northwestern just beat Purdue on Sunday, and I'm sure everybody on campus is telling them how great they are. And now you're in the NCAA tournament, and you're almost ranked, and blah 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 blah. And I thought Woodson did a great job after the game. Said, "Yeah, great win. You guys be happy with it. Now forget about it and get ready to go play Northwestern."
Absolutely. Chase Audige and Boo Buie, the big reason why they were able to knock off Purdue. But exactly, they can shoot, they can get to the rim, they can create, and they're active. But they are coming off of a very emotional win. And last year up there, when I was up there, it was probably it may have been a more pro IU crowd than it was Northwestern. Now, it probably won't be that way this year because there's more of a Northwestern output, but at worst, it'll be 60-40, I bet.
Yeah, Indiana's always had a huge turnout anytime they've ever played at Northwestern, because there's so many IU alums that live in Chicago and Northwest Indiana area, and that's their one chance to see a game, and they go and turn out and watch the game. The thing that Indiana needs, and I haven't done enough research to prove it statistically, but my sense has been that when they go on the road, usually Hutch Schifino and Jackson Davis play at the same level, if not higher. But the other guys, Galloway doesn't seem to shoot as well away from Assembly Hall. Bates doesn't seem to be as, dynamic away from Assembly Hall. Kopp, I don't think it's as big, but it's Galloway and Bates and Geronimo and those dudes. They seem to play better at home than they do on the road.
Yeah, they get relaxed and just kind of fall back into a watching. Seem like I'm going to watch Trace and
right.
and Jalen do their thing. All the while now, Miller Kopp was playing good defense. Those guys were doing other things, but they cannot win. You cannot win sustained games like that. You can get away with a one-off here and a one-off there, but you can't win back-to-back. You're not going to win 6 straight. You're not going to win 3 straight in the Big Ten tournament doing that, I don't think, against different styles. And they're going to need some scoring tonight because Northwestern's going to score.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it's a big game. I mean, they win this game. They separate themselves from Northwestern because they're tied with them right now for second place. You lose, you drop back into that pack. You move yourself a little closer for that double bye, and Indiana has slowly but surely moved up the seed lines on a lot of these NCAA tournament brackets, and a win against Northwestern on the road would be a nice credential. And, I think they're pretty much of a consistent 5 seed right now, but, depending on all these opportunities, their schedule's brutal down the stretch. They have a chance to move up to a 4 seed or even higher if they keep winning.
Yeah, a lot of people have them as a 4 seed right now. Okay. Mike DeCourcy, I think, has him as a 3.
That's crazy because didn't he not even have him in like 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Someone said that, and I'm like, that can't be true. That can't be
true.
real.
He was like the one guy that didn't have him in for a long time. And now
Somebody
he's
said that to me, and I'm like, that cannot be real. And Mike's on with us. It's Tuesday. I didn't ask him about it, but yeah, that's a major jump. But and that's why. Well, that's why I said earlier. I said, trust me, he's no homer. Don't think he's a homer of any kind. I said he doesn't give you anything, baby. You got to earn it. So they must have earned it in his eyes. But there's certainly, and that's another thing, is getting the eyes of the national people, which they have not. Indiana has not after the Arizona and the Kansas games. I think that people just kind of put Indiana aside.
Same old Indiana, not good enough to beat good teams.
And that's not
I
really
know
the
Dan
case.
O'Neill, the Athletic, was there last week for the Rutgers game, so she must be doing some kind of IU story. I haven't seen it yet, but I know she was there for the Northwestern game.
Yeah, I saw her there as well. I have not seen any piece on that. Bob was on with us earlier. I should have asked him about that. But what's up? What's going on with you?
Oh, tonight Louisville gets Virginia, so I get my shot at seeing Armand Franklin up close and personal.
Yeah.
Virginia is tied for first in the ACC, and they got 4 guys that are shooting the ball like 39% or better from three. He's got a really good 3-point shooting team, and they're going to win the ACC title. I'm pretty convinced of that, and they got a chance to be a 3 seed probably. It's not a great Virginia team, but it's the same style of working the shot clock, getting not a good shot, but get a great shot. And then on defense, they play the pack line that Archie tried to play but couldn't. But they play it really well because Tony Bennett's father is the one who created it.
Absolutely.
And a big game tonight also for Kentucky. I know there's talk Kentucky's after losing that game at Georgia Saturday. Lenardi moved them out of the field. A couple of other bracketologists moved them out of the field. And they play at Mississippi State tonight. That's a game. If they win, I think that gets them back in the field. But if they lose, then they got to come home and play Tennessee on Saturday in a game that they beat Tennessee in Knoxville. So it'll be tough for them to pull the double on Tennessee. So a lot of drama going on in Lexington.
What happens if they lose 3 straight? What's that going to be like in Rupp Arena if they were to lose? If Tennessee is a 3rd straight loss.
You saw the game last week when they played Arkansas. People started walking out with like 4 minutes to go. They didn't like what they saw. They showed it on TV actually right before the 4-minute media timeout, and Arkansas had gone up double figures that people started walking out. So there's I can only judge by people that I know that are Kentucky fans and some of the stuff I see on social media, but there are a lot of people who feel like the Calipari era has run its course and that once you lose your mojo the way he's lost his mojo there, it's hard to come back from that. And he's gotten increasingly, what's the right word, distant. A lot of times in his post-game press conferences only last like 5 minutes now. And he sits at the front of the room and he will point at whose questions he wants to answer. So I'm pretty convinced he's feeling the heat.
Wow. But he's got the lifetime contract, quote unquote. So what could they, how does that scenario play out?
The biggest ace in the hole he has is he's got the number 1 recruiting class in the country come in. They got 6 top 10
and the $30 million he's got raised. Don't forget.
Right. They got 4 top 10 players in the 6-player class led by DJ Wagner and Jeff Shepard's son. And, another guard from California named Dillingham, who's really good. I can't imagine.
He's got the reigning player of the year right now.
I know he does. People are tired of hearing about recruiting class rankings and how many players he's had in the NBA, and he's always made a big deal out of that. That's all fine to emphasize that stuff when you're winning, but when you're losing, fans sort of default to what matters to them, and what matters to them is winning college basketball games and going far in the tournament. They don't care about NBA draft night.
Yeah, but he won 10 straight number 1 recruiting classes and 1 national championship. So
right.
It's not.
They mentioned that. I don't know. I'm surprised at how much they're struggling. I thought they'd be better than this. But we're 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the season, and you pretty much are who you are at this point, unless you're a team that's waiting. Indiana, I think, has a chance to improve if Xavier Johnson can come back and play effectively and kind of mesh back with the unit. Other teams that might be getting the guys back from injury have a chance to get better, or if you got some freshmen who are really coming on. But I don't really see that with Kentucky. The flaws that they have, I'm not sure they can be fixed this season. And Oscar's, I don't know whether he's not healthy because he did have a knee procedure before the season, or he's been scouted. But he hasn't had a great year. He's not going to be a finalist for the Wooden Award, I don't think. And last year he was a unanimous consensus National Player of the Year. He won every award.
Has he won a single SEC Player of the Week award?
He might have won one. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head because he did have that one game against Georgia when he had 37 points and 24 rebounds. I would think he probably won it that week. But no, he's not. Nobody's talking about him as SEC Player of the Year. It's the freshman Brandon Miller from Alabama. So
there may not have been that many that had the opportunity because it could have been a senior or they left or whatever. But I wonder how many former Players of the Year that have had a second year have had such a horrible year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like being an MVP and then next year you're just off the charts, gone.
Yeah, I mean, I do think they're not saying this, but he doesn't look to be the same explosive athlete he was last year. He's getting a lot of rebounds, but not as many rebounds. Last year, he seemed like he got every rebound. I don't think he's getting up as quickly this year. And the thing that people are criticizing him the most for is he's been exposed on pick and roll defense. Other teams kind of isolate on one side of the floor and set a ball screen on him, and then they run the pick and roll, and his lateral movement isn't either quick enough or instinctive enough anymore to cover up for that. And yeah, Carolina number 1 and Kentucky number 4, neither may make the tournament. That's true.
What a stat that is. That may not have ever happened. 2 top 5 teams.
Yeah, I mean, Carolina's even more of a mystery because they don't have any excuses about injuries. And I don't know if you watched their game against Miami Monday night, but wasn't good. And I think their problem is they got 2 guards who just jack up too many bad shots. I mean, everybody, Caleb Love, I know Indiana recruited him, and Davis. I think they've recruited them both. Archie did. And, man, they take a lot of deep threes. They take contested threes. And it's like, you got Armando Bacot. He's one of the best inside players in the country. You might want to give him the ball a little bit more.
Rick Bozich from WDRB.com, the Hall of Famer. Appreciate you, brother. Make sure you give him a follow and go to WDRB.com for complete coverage of IU college athletics and much more. Appreciate you, Rick.
All right. Have a great week, Jim.
You bet. Rick Bozich joining us. We got much more to come here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from Reynolds Family Dentistry. For down in the Sellersburg area, stop by and see Dr. J. He'll keep you in with that championship smile. Also, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville and Evansville. In Clarksville, right off of I-65, off of Veterans Parkway. And if you're in Evansville, it's right off the Lloyd. Great place to catch a game. Over 50 TVs, food made fresh, handmade every day. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether
Excuse me. All right, you'll have about 8 or 9 minutes here to wrap it up.
Wrap it up. I'll take it. Wrap it up. I'll take it. You always just set me up for song, man. It's just always just easy setup. Set up.
Yesterday's wine.
Yesterday's wine. Oh, yesterday's wine. Raging with time. What are the words? Oh, I had that daggone song from Oh Brother We're Out There has been in my head. Oh, you got to go to the lonesome valley. Oh, you got to go to the lonesome valley. Did you ever see that movie?
I don't think so.
Oh my God. Did you just like disappear from life for a while or something?
I'm just not a movie guy, really. I've not seen that many movies. I don't know. I've not seen a lot of classic movies, I guess is what I should say.
There you go. I didn't know that's what it was. Wrap it up. I'll take it. Wrap it up. Take it. Man, I would have never in 1,000 years pulled that name of who that was out. But boy, as soon as you say it, I'm like, oh yeah. Jamie, we can't thank you enough. Appreciate you. But by all means, peeps, we love y'all. And please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps us immensely. Thank you so much. We appreciate you all. Appreciate y'all from all over the place. Everybody listening all over. I love it. I still wish I could go to Amman, Jordan. That would be cool. That would be cool. Coming to you, Indiana Sports Beat live from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Mobile unit here in Amman, Jordan. How about that?
God knows we wouldn't be able to connect there, I'm sure.
Who knows? I'd be up on, you never know. What are you talking about?
We can barely connect when we go on a golf course.
Probably a better connection.
All right, here we go.
There's a variety of freshly made fare tying their roots in Limestone with their love of Southern eateries. With quality, local, and organic food as their main focus, Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Wednesday. Appreciate you being with us. Brought to you by Cabello Restaurant, part of the Endeavor Hospitality Wow Club, located right on the square in Bloomington. Games on tap tonight in NCAA. Ole Miss taking on Florida at 6:30, Alabama and Tennessee. How about that? There's a game to watch right there, people. Alabama and Tennessee. Let's see, John Boy. What else do we have? John, do we have time to pull up one of those clips?
We do. We have. Do you want to hear from Mike Woodson, the question that Keegan asked?
Yes.
Mike Woodson?
Yes, please.
Let's do that. Yes. So from the same press conference that we played the clip with Bob Kravitz earlier, this is the answer to what Keegan asked Mike Woodson.
Well, it's a big time game, man. I mean, both teams got identical records. Statistically, we're pretty close. In different areas, offensively and defensively in the Big Ten. They got tremendous guard play with Boo and Chase. And I thought they hurt us here. So, our focus has just got to be, we gotta go in with the defensive mentality. I mean, you can't. They're a good offensive team, and they get after you defensively. So you can't get around either one of them. So you're going to have to combat that with defense and rebounding, and you're going to have to be able to put the ball in the hole. I mean, there was a lot of points scored in the game here. Our points came late, when we were down early. We outplayed them the second half, but hell, they did what they needed to do the first half to get them the cushion where we had to scramble to get back in the game. So, hey, it's going to be a dogfight. They playing in front of their crowd, their fan base. And so I'm just anxious to see what we made of when we get there.
Talking about Northwestern, the Wildcats, Indiana taking on tonight up at the Ryan Welsh Center in Evanston, 18-7 overall. Their last 10, though, they're 6-4. Of course, the most recent, the win over number 1 Purdue at home, which was a hugely emotional win for them. First time that they've ever beaten a number 1 team. Northwestern has only been to the NCAA tournament one time. That was just in 2017. So this would be only a second trip ever to the NCAA tournament. What's that?
Chris Collins was also the head coach that got them to the NCAA tournament.
That was either his first or second year, I think, too.
This is purely speculation, but do you think he'll be looking at a better job opportunity come next season?
I think he likes it. I think he likes where he is. He's winning. He's shown he can win in the Big Ten. He's in Chicago, too. So it's not, I mean, sure, that could always happen. You know, he's the son of, oh, gosh, dang it. Somebody will pull it up here. His dad is very well known.
He's also part of the Mike Krzyzewski coaching tree.
But will he move on at some point? Probably. I mean, people generally don't stay at Northwestern, but Northwestern has never seen success like this. Jamie pointing out he's a Chicago guy.
There you go.
And he's in Chicago. So, you know, when there's a big difference between being at a school in, say, Chicago and being at one, say, in State College, Pennsylvania, kind of in Bloomington, but you're kind of close enough to Indianapolis from that standpoint. I don't see Notre Dame. Oh, I missed that. Daggone it. Fred saying, oh, damn it. Y'all put so many comments in. They move so fast. Kevin says Collins to Notre Dame, possibly. That's not a, to me, that's a, I don't even know that
it's
that's
a lateral move.
Barely a lateral move because you're going to the ACC, which is really down. You're playing it from the Big Ten, which makes a lot more money. And you're in the city that the conference headquarters is in. And he's got, I don't know. Definitely, I do not see him leaving for Notre Dame. Absolutely not. Doug Collins, absolutely. 72 Olympian. Yep. He was the first coach of the Bulls when Michael Jordan first came there. Gosh, I couldn't believe I couldn't remember that. But thank you both. 5 lefts as well. Fred, yeah, both getting that up there. Peebo as well. Yep. But yeah, but Boo Buie, we need to be talking about Boo Buie and Chase Audige because that's who Indiana is going to be concerned with tonight. Those guys
just makes me think of Baba Booey.
Baba Booey. Baba Booey. See, you should have that clip ready to go at all times and just hit that button.
You can't. Okay, I know why you say that, but every time we think of something, we've never thought of it before. We've never thought of Baba Booey before. Never.
Well, that's a new one. That's why you enter it in, so now you have it.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, there you go. Baba Booey. That just cracks me up. And how now? See, now my ADHD brain. See, that's what happens. I'm ADHD. Now you got me thinking of Baba Booey from Howard Stern. How in the hell did he get that nickname? I'm like, how do you get a nickname, Baba Booey? Baba Booey. What is Baba Booey?
I don't know. We got 1 minute. Let's wrap this puppy up.
See, we went from that to Baba Booey. How the hell does that happen?
Boo Booey, Baba Booey.
That's ADHD. Well, Indiana fans will be getting to see a lot of Boo Buie tonight and Chase Audige as Indiana will try to tame down this Northwestern offense with the great defense they have been playing. That game is at 9:00, so we'll look forward to that. Cannot wait. And we'll be back tomorrow to wrap it up and to see what happens. But big thanks, of course, to Bob Kravitz from The Athletic for joining us, Cal Neddenriep from the Indy Star, and Rick Bozich from WDRB.com, the Hall of Fame writer, for joining us. Thanks to everybody listening to us wherever you are, whether you're all down on the river, 97.7 ESPN, always the right call in Evansville. We appreciate you guys. Hope you're having a great day down there. 89.9 in Marengo. And, of course, up in the region, I forgot to mention while Rick was on, Rick is from the region. He's a region rat, people. He's an original region rat. So how about all my region rats up there listening on 104.7 FM and 12:30 AM on WGOB? We appreciate you guys. Hope everyone having a great day, and everywhere else, wherever you're listening to, if it's YouTube around the world, we appreciate you guys. Keep the comments coming. We love you. Until then, for John, I'm Jim Coyle. I'll be back tomorrow. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.